Okay, I just got home from the cinema. It's time to give you my first thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder. And don't worry, it's completely spoiler free. Okay, let's discuss the storyline. As you might be well aware, the storyline is loosely based on the Gore the God Butcher storyline in the Thor graphic novels. It's fairly close. It's nice to see an origin story for Gore. It's not a spoiler. It's obvious it's going to be an origin story for a new villain. Um, yeah, that was really nice to see, and to see it in a fair bit of depth was pretty good. I liked that a lot. Um, what else can we talk about? It's it's a loud film, as in like there's a lot to look at, a lot of bright colours. Um, it's just got a lot going on. If you liked Ragnarok, you will absolutely love Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm telling you that now. If you weren't a fan of Ragnarok, you might not be as much of a fan like this one either. When I first watched Ragnarok, I was unsure. And again, I've had the same reaction with Thor Love and Thunder. It's a great film, don't get me wrong, but I found a few things, I've got a few niggles about it, if that makes sense. It was just, for one, the humour, it's great, but the balance is not right. It's such forced humour in the Thor films now. And the graphic novels, obviously, I love the Thor graphic novels, and I've read a few. They're not like that, they're a lot darker. Not saying I want it all to be dark, um, but I don't like this forced humour. It's great if it flows naturally, but some of it just doesn't flow that well. And some of it's like really in your face, cheesy, silly humour as well, like slapstick. It's not something I want to see from Marvel, to be honest. Unless maybe with Deadpool being the exception for that, because that's what he's like in the graphic novels, and that's what he's like in the MCU. I can handle that. That's absolutely fine. That's what he's known for. Thor isn't as such. So I'm not keen on the forced humour and the slapstick comedy. I'm sorry, Thor Love and Thunder, I'm just not. Another niggle I had is that there was a few things missing that were in the trailers. Pretty relevant things. I know it happens in films, it does happen. I know one of the biggest culprits for that is Suicide Squad, the first Suicide Squad film. There was loads missing out of that. But yeah, there's a couple of things missing out of the trailers that we didn't actually get to see in the film, which I was a little bit disappointed by. Um, let's move on to some really good points. First plus, Chris Hemsworth, very much like he was in the others. Nothing wow. A few new things from him, but nothing wow. But it was good. It was still good. He was still great, and he was still funny, and he was still great to look at. Yeah, he was awesome. But Natalie Portman stole it for me. I was never a fan of Jane Foster in the first or second Thor films. I found her to be kind of almost irritating. Not quite, irritating is probably the wrong word, but that's probably the closest I can think off the top of my head right now. I was never a massive fan of Jane Foster, although I love the sciencey background because I love a good bit of nerding out. But I wasn't a big fan of Jane Foster. But she kind of redeems herself in this one. She's pretty damn good, and some of her action scenes are absolutely phenomenal. CGI worked well on them too, to be honest, and there was times where she was even better than Thor. So yeah, she was great. The returning characters were great. So you got Valkyrie, Korg. We all know the Guardians are in there too. Um, I'm trying not to say too much because I'm trying not to spoil it. Um, I would have liked to have seen more from certain characters. I won't say which ones because I don't want to spoil it for you. But I would have liked to have seen more from some of them. Um, yeah, there was quite a few cameos, like regarding like as in not like surprise cameos. I mean like the Thor characters that you'd expect to be in there. Not like, wow, my gosh, they're in the film. Nothing like that. Not like Multiverse of Madness style cameos. That's what I'm talking about. That was really good to have that in there. There was a few new additions. I mean, the goats. They are in the trailer. It's not a spoiler. They are absolutely hilarious. The screaming goats. They're so funny. So funny. Um, they're a good giggle. Russell Crowe, also pretty good. Very, very comical. Um, yeah, he was really good fun, although I'm not gonna lie. I did for a moment in the cinema close my eyes because I was like, that accent sounds very familiar. I closed my eyes while he was speaking his dialogue, I'm not going to lie to you, I thought I was listening to Borat. It was quite funny. It was quite funny. There were moments where his accent went a bit off and he sounded just like Borat to me, and it was quite hilarious. So yeah, he was a good addition to the cast. He was a very good addition to the cast. Circling back to Gore the God Butcher, so Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher, he was a good villain. He was a good villain. He wasn't the best villain. Like, director Taika Waititi has said he feels that Christian Bale is the best villain or antagonist within the MCU. I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that. I just don't. His performance was very good. Some moments he was extremely intimidating. Others he was a bit kind of like almost mocking people. And because of this and the way he moved as well, he kind of gave me vibes, very big vibes of Jared Leto's Joker. Very much so. It was a mix for me of like Jared Leto's Joker meets Voldemort from Harry Potter. When you see the film, you'll probably understand where I'm coming from with that. But yeah, 100% think he's like Jared Leto's Joker, especially like the way he speaks too, the way he moves, definitely. But is he the best villain in the MCU? No, he's not. Not by a long shot. And I hate to say this, but I think the best villain within the MCU isn't actually a villain. And that's the Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness. Spoiler if you've not seen it. I technically don't class her as a villain, but she's the most terrifying villain I've seen within the MCU. She makes Thanos look like nothing. Yeah, definitely. By far, she's the best villain in the MCU. So, sorry, Christian Bale did a really good job, no doubt about it. But you are not the best villain in the MCU. Another good plus for the film was that the soundtrack was absolutely brilliant. It worked so well. Mostly 80s inspired, like heavy kind of rock slash pop from the 80s. That worked really, really well alongside the scenes that we were seeing. Very well, in fact. And I'm not going to lie, I probably would even go as far as to buying the soundtrack. I'm not going to, but I would, if that makes sense. It's a very good soundtrack and it works so well. And don't forget, as per usual with Marvel films, there is not one, but there is two end credit scenes for you. The first one is probably the most important because it literally shows you the future of where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going, and it looks exciting. I kind of predicted it because I hadn't seen. I know it was leaked online early this morning, but I haven't seen it until I went to the cinema tonight. However, I kind of predicted it by something that was said in the film, kind of around halfway through, by a certain character, and I was like, I kind of guess where this is going. So I kind of made it. I kind of predicted it, so it wasn't a surprise to me when I saw it. Everyone's been like, "Oh my gosh!" about this first trailer end credit scene, but it was a little bit predictable while you're watching the film. So going in before the film, it's not predictable. While you're watching the film, you can think, I can see where this is going. So that was well worth watching, but it's definitely the good future of the MCU. The second end credit scene, again, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it was good. It's not a wow moment, but it's good. If you're a Thor fan, you'll love it. It was good. Another thing I will say is, if you get emotional at films or TV shows and that, bring some tissues with you. Bring some tissues, guys. The film, all in all, is a big roundup. I don't want to sound rude or anything, but Taika Waititi himself said the film is so super gay. It is. It really, really is. Like, in your face, like, loud. It really is. But it worked. It worked. And yeah, so you've got that element to it. You've got the slapstick comedy elements to it. And you've got, obviously, the action, which we're used to in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But there is heavy, heavy emotion underlying the storyline throughout the entire film. So be prepared, guys. So to round it out, all in all, did I enjoy Thor Love and Thunder? Yeah, of course I enjoyed it. Was it one of the top Marvel Cinematic Universe films? Probably not. And if it's and it is, like I said, it's a lot like Thor Ragnarok. I think I'm gonna have to watch it a second time to enjoy it more. Because I remember when I watched Ragnarok in the cinema, I was like, it's brilliant, it's funny, but it's not wow. There's something missing for me that didn't quite pack a punch in Ragnarok when I saw it in the cinema. When I watched it a second time at home on Disney Plus, I enjoyed it far more, far more. So I think this is going to be the same thing with Thor Love and Thunder, definitely. But 100%, it is definitely a must watch. It's well worth seeing. And it's a good film. I'm not going to lie, it's a great film. Go and see it. And if whether you're a Marvel fan or not, you'll like it.